ESPN senior writer Howard Bryant joins us now. You heard Mina's last line there, Howard. Why do you think it is that Colin Kaepernick is still out of the NFL when others who protested racial inequality and police brutality back in 2016 have remained on rosters?
Well, because he's the symbol, I think, more than anything else. And when you're the symbol, they make an example out of you. And he's been the example that they've made out for the last 4 years. And I think that what this really says more than anything else was the payback was permanent, and it has been permanent.
His protest, obviously a peaceful one. In the context of this past week, it looks even more so. The players wanted the NFL to admit it was wrong in silencing players from peacefully protesting. Roger Goodell did that yesterday, Howard. How much weight do you put in those words?
Well, you know what, David, I don't put a lot of weight into it for a couple of reasons. One is because I disagree with the commissioner. The players, they did listen to the players. They listened to the players they wanted to listen to. They listened to Malcolm Jenkins. They listened to Anquan Bolden. They listened to a lot of players. What they did do, however, was they absolutely engineered the end of one player's career. And not only did they end one player's career, but they actually created an entire organization to neutralize him. The Players Coalition exists because Colin Kaepernick was kneeling. So it's a lot of this is misdirection to me. I think the real problem with what's taking place here is if we're all about what we've been seeing for the past the last week in terms of all of these statements and such, can you have reconciliation without truth? Can you actually talk about moving forward and actually caring about these issues when you still couldn't even mention Colin Kaepernick's name? You couldn't mention his name and you couldn't mention police. Now, these are very difficult issues, obviously, but at some point you have to face the issues, right? I mean, at some point you have to be able to say, here's what's happening, and we're going to clean the slate. And there's no chance right now that it even appears that they're willing to do that. So I'm very dubious about all of it.
Okay, so if he mentions Colin Kaepernick's name, if Colin Kaepernick gets back in the league, what does that mean for the NFL on its stance for racial equality?
Well, I think it means something very significant. It means that the NFL is recognizing that it has to be what it says it is. You cannot have all of this commentary. You can't have Roger Goodell giving statements. You can't do all of that. You can't say Black Lives Matter if you're not going to recognize the Black life that you ruined, that you actually went out and actively sought to end his career. But I think the more important part, David, is the fact that they're a $15 billion industry, and there has to be room for everybody. There has to be room for all of these different attitudes and these different points of view. You saw it with the video with the players yesterday. And there's no way that you're going to be able to say that you're an inclusive organization to everybody if you're going out and you're actively silencing the players. I mean, I just feel like when I think about this, I think about the ability of a country to be able to handle the truth. You know, you have to be able to handle what's taking place. And it's actually one of the areas where we're at our worst, is the inability to actually sit down and say, listen, the world's not going to collapse if Colin Kaepernick is playing football in the NFL. If anything, it's actually helpful.
Are you optimistic? Do you feel like anything has changed with the NFL? I mean, as you know, this has been an unbelievable period in this nation's history, just the last 10, 12 days. Do you feel like the NFL has moved at all here?
Well, I feel like the country's coming apart right now. And I think it's bigger than the NFL. And I think that when you see all of these young people in the street and you see them as passionate as they are and you see the response, you look at all of this and you see the type of confrontations that you have. It's very scary right now. So when I think about the NFL, I think, okay, I'm looking at the NFL, the NBA, basketball. I'm looking at all of these different organizations out there putting these statements out about equality and about togetherness and about having people's backs. And now I want to see what you're about. I want to see what you're going to actually do. And I think that that's the part where is it a reckoning or is it just another dance?
Yep. We're going to find out, hopefully, if it's just corporate PR with these statements or if there's some legitimate support and legitimate change going on with those organizations. Always great to talk to Howard Bryant, get his insight into what's going on right now.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.